Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Jurek. I'm a manager at Learning and Development Center at NIX, and I would like to welcome you all to our Quality Assurance Webinar. The structure of today's webinar is following. First of all, we are going to talk about our company. We'll provide you a presentation about NIX. Afterwards, our expert Serhii is going to provide you a presentation about a quality assurance engineering, and will introduce you to a role of quality assurance engineer. And afterwards, in the very end, we're going to answer all of your questions. So without any further ado, let's get straight into the presentation about NIX. So who are we? So NIX is a very well-known brand in the IT outsourcing market. Currently, we are represented in 4 countries. These are US, Israel, Ukraine, and recently we have entered a Hungarian market. So let me share a few facts about NIX. So for more than 29 years, we've been providing software and website development services for IT products. Currently, our brand unites more than 2,000 specialists. These are mainly developers, testers, DevOps, HR and PR specialists, marketers, and many others. At NIX, we use the most advanced tools and technologies and the most well-known programming languages. And currently, we have more than 100 ongoing projects. So there are numerous advantages for working at NIX, but I'm just going to mention some of the most crucial ones. So you can work on various international projects side by side with experts from various departments in order to understand the diversity of IT industry. A usage of new tools and technologies will allow you to develop comprehensively. And the most crucial actually part here, so you can get a decent reward for your hard work. So I would like to point out here that more than 60% of our specialists have been with NIX for more than 5 years. That means that our business is stable, and it wouldn't be possible without a constant development of our specialists. For instance, we have internal training programs, we have a leadership mentoring, and as well, if it's obviously required for you, you can get a compensation for a third party courses. Part of that, we also create conditions for development of soft skills. We constantly hold internal events at NIX where you can communicate with your friends and colleagues in more informal and friendly atmosphere. So the successful result of our work has been recognized by the following certificate from a very well-known companies with whom we have partnerships. These are Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Salesforce. So it's really worth mentioning. Majority of our clients belong to Fortune 500 lists. If you are not aware who these companies are, these are the largest companies in the US. And with these companies, we have currently implemented more than 5,000 successfully projects. At NIX, so as far as you see, there are plenty of technologies we use. So with us, you'll be able to constantly learn new solutions and really relieve a potential of an expert in yourself. So also we have a very active life outside of work. Despite that there are really that many of us, we try to maintain family and friendly atmosphere at NIX where everyone really respects and support each other. For instance, we attend corporate events together, dressed up in costumes for Halloween, attend Christmas together, even at International Women's Day, every single guy has presented a flower to a girl colleague, which was really nice of each of us. And as we say, our motto is who works well, rests well. Here also I would like to mention really important information for students. So in case you're looking for internship, we have a really great offer for you. You can work from 20 up to 24 hours a week for up to 3-4 months, and afterwards you can become a full-time employee at our company. So I really recommend you to check out this possibility. Another important thing that I would like to mention, it's way. If you're not aware what it is, it's a cool service that's been recently developed by our expert. So it's a career guidance test, and it really helps you to discover for what kind of profession in IT you will be the most suitable candidates. And as well, if you check out our It's Way website, you can find an information about different career paths you can choose in the IT industry. So guys, thank you for attention for now, and we really appreciate everyone's aspiration and desire to learn new skills. So all of these links to our social media platforms we are going to share in our chat box. And now I would like to introduce our quality assurance expert, Serhii, who is going to continue with his presentation. So now I'm passing a word to him. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the company's presentation, of course. Actually, it makes me feel really proud. So it's a nice one. But now let's proceed with the quality assurance related talk. And the topic for today is how to become a quality assurance engineer, what is quality assurance as a whole, and how to go into the profession, what quality assurance engineers do, and so on and so forth. So let's just begin with slightly knowing about each other. Unfortunately, guys, I do not see you, but you see at least me. So now currently on your screen you see my photo of the best days, I guess, and my name is Serhii. And I've been in the industry for the last 8 years. I've been a manual QA engineer, I've been an automated QA engineer for 3 years and for 4 years, and then I got the automation QA lead role, which I'm having right now. So I have collected quite a bit of experience that I can share with you guys. So let's get to it. So the agenda for today. We are going to talk about who QA engineers are in general, how to become a quality assurance engineer, and after that we are going to touch on the topic of what to do next when you are already a quality assurance engineer, because there is quite a bunch to know there. So I guess the best place to start here is with the history of quality assurance. And let's say in the very early days of software development, there was no quality assurance. There was no testing as a separate activity. There were no quality assurance engineers, because software was actually really simple. The programming languages were really low level and difficult, but the software itself, it wasn't that complex. The features were simple, the software was simple, it was really easy to plan, and it was easy to test the basic test cases and basic use cases. So what developers just did, they did everything themselves. They just wrote the code, they did the design, they just did the testing, and then they released their software. And it was all in the pre-patch era, so there was no internet at that time, and they were not able to release any updates. So when something is released, it is released. And software was still usable, and people were using lots of different utilities, and those were really of high quality. But then stuff started changing because the bugs emerged. And this happened mostly because the software became more complex, and it became much more difficult to keep track of everything. A single person could not implement a piece of software without any defects, and thus there were bugs. And end users were not happy about that, and the developers were not happy also, because the bugs emerged. And this happened mostly because the software became more complex, and it became much more difficult to keep track of everything. A single person could not implement a piece of software without any defects, and thus there were bugs. And users were not happy about that, and the developers were not happy also, because another part of this worst quality was that the users didn't want to buy this software, which was of low quality. So this is where the quality assurance profession begins. Because the decision and the solution to this situation was to introduce a new profession, a new role, a new person, and maybe even multiple people on a single project that would just do the testing and would account for the quality and would highlight these places where the software is not perfect, where there are bugs, and so on and so forth. And after that, so this is like basically the modern era, and now everybody is again happy. And you, as a person that is interested in quality assurance, can now be part of this happiness. So this was the really overall history of quality assurance. And now, who are quality assurance engineers? Because you understood that these are the people that catch some bugs, okay. But there is quite a bunch to that, because quality assurance is a really complex activity. And first things first, these are the people that care for the quality the most on the project, and these are the people that care for the client to get the best quality possible of the software piece that is being developed. At the same time, they document and execute so-called test cases, or just tests, which we are going to talk about a little bit later. Also, they are the people that aggregate most of the knowledge about the project, because they need to know the most to actually know what is right and what is wrong for this specific product, how to distinguish whether something is a bug or a feature, and so on and so forth. Also, these people need to possess lots of knowledge about different tools, because in development there is lots of stuff being used, lots of different bits and pieces that you need to know how to use, how to test, and so on and so forth. So these are the people that also know that. As these are the people that care for quality, this is not only about the quality of software. This is also the quality of the work that people are doing. This is the quality of communication. This is the quality of lots of different things. So quality assurance engineers also need to account for that. Of course, this doesn't happen always, but this is usually something that is expected from a quality assurance engineer. And last but not least is collaboration and communication, because if you are the person that needs to help the team fix some stuff, obviously you need to be able to communicate. Because if you are not able to, even if you find some defect, even if you log it into some system, if you do not properly communicate all the process and the fix, it won't be done, and it won't be given to the end user, this fix, and the sense of the whole profession will just go. So, a logical question that some of you might have. So, what happens in the modern world if something is developed without quality assurance as a process, without quality assurance engineers that take part in the development? So, it is actually really simple. What happens is really bad stuff. So if we're releasing something to the open market, so let's say we're releasing a piece of software to Play Market or to the iOS store, the application starts being installed by different users. Maybe we invest in money into some advertisements, maybe we somehow use our media potential to get people to install our application, and if the quality of this application is not good, people will just not use it, because we are in the world where there is like lots and lots of different pieces of software, and even if you implement something really new and something really cool, in the very end, if it is not of good quality, people will not use it. And if you do this time by time by time, and it happens multiple times in a row, your company's reputation starts to suffer. And then when the user sees that, okay, so this was company X that did this application, so it must be of not the best quality. I'm not even going to install it. You do not want this to happen, definitely. And the last one, but not least, it is not the most obvious one, but we can discuss it in slightly more detail. So it is a fact that if we find some bug or defect or imperfection in a piece of software earlier in the development process, it is actually really cheap to fix. Because if you think about that, so for example, the earliest time when you can find a defect is during the testing of documentation. This is actually a process that happens when the documentation was already written, but the product is not being developed yet. And the quality assurance engineer can read through this documentation and try to find the imperfections, the defects that are already there, like some logical issues maybe. If we are not able to find this issue, it will exist and then it will be implemented in the software, maybe, and then it might get to the end user. And then it will be definitely found, but this is not the best case. Because if we find in this very first phase, what will happen is that we will report this to the business analysis person or whoever wrote these requirements, and it will just be fixed in text and it will take like 20 minutes, like max. Maybe if it is something like from the ground part of the application, it might take like a day, maybe, of one person. But at the same time, if it is being released to the end user, and this is something either serious or not so serious of a severity of a defect, it first needs to be reported to the development team, so we need to have a support person. Then the user is already angry, but we need to fix it in the shortest term possible. We need to have the development team fixing it. Then we need to somehow make sure that this defect does not reproduce anymore. And if we are modeling a world without quality assurance as a process, we are just releasing this fix without like actual quality assurance. And the good like scenario here, the defect is fixed, okay, and we are not getting any more damage. But what can happen is that another defect can be introduced at the same time because a code change was made. And then we are in the same cycle again and again and again. So having a quality assurance engineer in the team and doing the testing as early as possible, it is actually, it really saves lots of money for the clients, and the clients that know software development, they like testing and quality assurance a lot. So at some points in our presentation, we are going to stop for some story time because I understand that this lecture might be like really packed with information, and especially for those of you guys who are outside of the IT industry, it might have lots of terms. So this story time is just to prove that the theory that I'm telling you is actually relevant. So this is all from my personal experience, and this is the stuff that happened to me in real life. So this one about the early testing and how you should actually do it and not just find the defects and not fix them. So this happened on a project that I joined in the very beginning of the development, and this was a new product. We built it from ground up, and I joined basically day one, and I joined together with the development team, and during the planning phase, the developers, the architects of development, they were choosing the tools that would be the ground for the application, like the very low level floor of this like piece of product. And what we wanted to do is to have performance testing, like we wanted to apply load for the tools that we were supposed to use, like the tools that were suggested. And we did performance testing, and we identified that one of the tools that was used to store the information about users, it did perform really badly if more than 2,000 users were using the application at a time. So this is not too much, but the client was not expecting to have as many users in the next couple of years. And what they said after we reported the issue, they said, okay, so when we come to that moment when it actually becomes an issue, we will fix it. And their word is just like law for us, so okay, we did that. And then I left the project, but it went on. And one of my former colleagues told me that in 3 years after that, they had this change made, because the application in production for the actual end client, it became unusable. And they did need to change this tool, or like the approach how they use it. So in the very beginning, the change would have taken maybe a couple of days for one person, but they didn't want to do this. Now, when they're doing it in 3 years, they spent like a couple of months for multiple teams to do this fix, and they are not even finished yet. So it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of money right now, and it would be really easier if they did it in the very beginning. So maybe from my side, I should have stressed this more in the very beginning. But now let's proceed with our theory. So you might hear the word tester a lot. Like quality assurance engineer sounds like a term, like an actual, like something professional, scientific, and the tester is a tester, right? So when people are talking about quality assurance, they usually call it testing, and the person that does it is a tester. But quality assurance engineers do not usually like that when they're called like this, and let me tell you why. So long story short, testing is just one of the activities inside of quality assurance. It is purely mechanical, and when you're doing testing, you are just going step by step through the steps that were written by another person, or maybe by you yourself. And you just compare the expected result to the actual that you see on screen. This is all. This is testing. It is really easy. It is really trivial, let's say, nothing complex. But quality assurance, on the other hand, is the whole process. It's the process of assuring quality of a specific project, of a specific product. And it does involve lots of different activities. We are going to talk about these activities right now. So, when you become a quality assurance engineer one day, what is going to be your routine? If you just ask one of your maybe friends that know something about IT but do not work in IT and have really like limited knowledge, what you will hear from them is that, okay, so quality assurance engineers, the people that are testers, they look for bugs and they find software imperfections, and then maybe they will tell you that these people report bugs, but it's bugs, and like 20, 50 different synonyms of the same phrase. But this is not it. This is not everything that quality assurance is. So the real routine, the first one, of course, is software testing. So as I have said, this is one of the activities, but even this activity that is usually characterized as just testing. It's not that simple. So there are multiple types and levels of testing. Let's say you can test the same product from the end user's perspective. So from maybe for a web application, from user interface in the browser, or you can test the same functionalities but from the so-called backend that is like directly talking to the server, or you can test the database, you can test accessibility, which is like how well some people with disabilities would be able to use your product, and so on and so forth. So there is like lots and lots of different types and levels of testing. Plus, you need to decide when you need to do this testing, because it actually matters when and where you do each specific type and whether you actually need to do this. In your first years, maybe as a quality assurance professional, you will not do this decision yourself. This decision will be made for you by the test lead or the quality assurance lead, but you definitely need to know about all these different occasions and different types and so on and so forth. Plus, there is no one correct approach to doing testing, because in testing and in quality assurance, each task is a problem, and this problem can be solved in multiple different ways, because the problem is usually rather complex. And you need to do this decision, you need to choose the right approach to test the same stuff. And the last one, for software testing, you do need to know how to test specific parts of the system. So let's say you have a database of this specific type, you need to know how to test this specific database, because they are all tested, like, for gaining access to all of them, you need to have specific knowledge and to know specific tools and so on and so on. So you do need to know a lot of tools, and if you think about that in a couple of years, you understand that you collected lots and lots of this knowledge, you are ready for lots of different cases and so on. The next one, work with documentation, and this is bad news for the people that do not like to work with documentation, because this is actually a big part of quality assurance as a profession, because you need to test the documentation. The projects that actually do good testing, they need to understand that testing of the documentation is a part of testing, a part of quality assurance. It needs to be done. And good quality assurance engineers like to work with requirements and with documentation. At the same time, you will need to sometimes generate and write test documentation yourself. And not only like test documentation, but also product documentation maybe, because on some project it will happen that you will be the only non-developer person in the team, and you will be collecting all of these activities yourself. Like, you will be acting as a business analyst, and if you are interested in this role, I have seen a recording on this same YouTube channel about business analysts, so watch that also. But you will need to do that role from time to time. Plus, as a person that needs to know how the product needs to work, like the actual truth about this product, you need to keep track of all the media, all the documents that are posted, that are generated on the project, and thus lots of people will need your help in planning and grooming of the features that are being implemented. For these specific terms, grooming and planning is something that was introduced as terms in the development methodology that is called Scrum. You can read about that online, it is really popular right now, but long story short, this is a process, like planning and grooming, is a process of figuring out whether the requirements that were received by the team are actually good, and whether those requirements can become the actual product. So this process happens once in a week, maybe once in a couple of weeks, and the team really badly needs the QA's help in this. The next one is learning, and you might know that if you know something about IT in general, you know that we like to use cutting-edge technologies. Our clients like to use cutting-edge technologies, and this basically means that we have to learn new stuff constantly. Because we need to learn new approaches. This might be because of the new tools that are being introduced. The recent example is ChatGPT, of course, because if you are using AI in your work, like machine learning, you might do some really routine tasks a lot faster than other people that do not use these tools. This is just one example, but once new tools emerge, once we have new types of databases, once we have new tools for different types of technical stuff, you will need to test that, and thus you will need to actually know how to test that. So these are like the technologies that are used in the application under test. And also, you might be one of the people, you might not be the only person, but you might be one of the people that would like and that would be able to improve the development process itself. Because you as a QA person would have the big picture of the development process, you will know how to improve the process, you will know how to communicate better, which is the next step, so communication. And it is last but again not least. So you will at least need to notify the team about the issues that you uncover, and this is really important because if you do not communicate that properly, the bug that you found yesterday will not be fixed tomorrow, and the team might not even understand the full priority and severity of this defect without your communication. Also, as a person that holds lots of the information about the project, you will need to do some knowledge transfers. Because other people, they might have lots of other problems, and time to time they might need some knowledge transfers from you. Also, knowledge transfers usually happen to new team members and other teams that work on the same project, So you might be the person of contact for knowledge transfers, which is a good opportunity to meet everyone and to show yourself as a great professional. Also, you might need to communicate with the client side. I mean, in the might need, this is more like you will definitely need sooner or later to communicate with the client side. But it just is the question of how much you will do that. Because if you have a business analyst or a project manager on your team, those might take most of the communication for themselves, and the team might not need to do that. But in some teams, those roles just do not exist. In other teams, those people just do not have this communicational role assigned to them. So you, as a quality assurance engineer, will need to do a lot of communication and some negotiation maybe about the requirements and so on and so forth. So another chunk of the lecture over, and again, this is story time. This is about communication, and this is about how much it matters, and it even matters up to the point where you can lose a project if you cannot communicate something properly. So this happened on a project where we had the ability to choose the tools that we were doing automation with. So test automation, we were writing code to do the automatic testing. And we had not too big of a team of quality assurance engineers, and we did the choice for the technologies. It was communicated to the clients, but we didn't go too far into why these tools are the best or why these are the most optimal, and we just started the work. And a few years passed, and we had a huge test set written in this tool chain. And at some moment in time, the client decides to hire another team from another company. So there is now two different, there is our teams, and there is one only team from another client. Not another client, but another provider of services. And what happens on one of the meetings is that one of the people from that team, I guess it was their tech lead, the QA tech lead, he starts asking questions. And the questions are like, why are we using these tools for testing and not that tools? And can we do better? And why are we doing this in the incorrect way? And I wasn't taking it seriously because I thought that we were doing this for a couple of years now. The manager should trust us, and nothing bad should happen. But little did I know, because for the next month, I guess, we had these meetings that happened day to day, and those were really long. And I had to prove that the technologies that we were using were the best. Actually, at least good enough. Because the person on the other side, he was really aggressive about it. And as I learned, he was just trying to sell the opportunity to use the tools that their company provides. And he knew really well what those tools were, and all the weaknesses and all the strong places. And it was a real challenge for communication-wise for me, because I had to communicate a lot, and I had to prepare lots of presentations. I had prepared lots of speeches on why our choice was the best. And long story short, we did win this competition, and yes, this was a competition basically. And in the very end, it was a happy story for us. It has a happy ending, because that team, they are not working with that company anymore, but our team does, and they are still using the same technologies. So we proved that we are better in this case, and it was just because of good communication. Because if we are honest, their technologies were not worse than ours. They were just as good. And now we proceed with the next part. And I guess this is the most practical one, and this would be of the most interest for most of you guys watching, because this is around how do you actually become a quality assurance engineer. We are splitting this up into manual, automated, and some extras. So for the manual, there is a standard way to become a manual automation, a manual QA engineer, and it basically is couple of steps. Each of those steps might take a lot of time, but if we just describe it in words, you need to learn the overall information about what IT is in general. and you can read it online, and you can talk to some friends, and this is not that difficult to learn. Then you need to learn the basics of theory of testing. Again, this information in 2023, this is really easy to find online, and you can find all that. You can find free courses in video, in text form, even with some practice maybe, because you do need to have some practice. And you can use some random websites for that. You can use the tasks from the courses that you find. And after all that, you also need to practice, or maybe at the same time, you will need to do some practice in test documentation. You will write the so-called test cases and checklists, and maybe plan some testing in the test plan, and develop a testing strategy. So all of these terms you will learn in the process, but it might take like a couple of months for some of you guys, for some of you it might be less, for some of you it might be more, but it will require lots of your motivation, because there will be no mentor besides you, and there will be no person that will be able to help you, and at least if you do not have friends in the industry, right? But there is, aside from this slightly scary standard way, there is the NIX way, as they call it. And in this NIX way, which is really cool, as it seems to me, you go with the same first step. So basically, you just learn about IT in general. You can Google, you can ask your friends, maybe just do something related. And then you can just apply for the NIX QA course, which is available. And we hold these courses currently each month or each couple of months. So while I'm still talking, I might share you this QR code. And with this QR code, you will get to the NIX courses page. And on that page, you can just find the QA course. I didn't put the link directly to the QA course because it is usually the specific course for a specific month. But this one is just for all the courses. So scan it. What will you find in this course if you apply? So basically, this course was developed by the engineers at NIX, and I was one of these people. It was a while back, but the materials that we have there are actually up to date. We usually update the materials like for each group that we teach. And these people that developed the course, they didn't only develop the theoretical materials, they also developed the practice, they developed the control points, they give feedbacks, and all of this is taught inside of an actual audience, and you get the introduction to the profession with all the practice and all the different aspects, different types of testing, different approaches, some tools. You get that all in one package. And then, as the cherry on top of this cupcake, you also get the opportunity to be hired by NIX. And this is not actually like that small of a chance. There is actually a really big chance that if you study well, you will also become part of the NIX team in the very end. So this is the great opportunity. Scan this QR code. You have 3 seconds, now 2 seconds, 1 second, and we go further. The next one is like another possible professional path is the QA automation engineer. And this one starts in a standard way from the whole manual package that we had. So you need the theory, you need the practice, you need to know about quality assurance as a whole. And this is basically learning the whole course for manual. After that, to do test automation, you will need to learn at least one programming language, because this is how you do test automation. You write program code that tests for you, basically. After you have the knowledge and some practice for a programming language, you also need to learn the so-called testing frameworks and libraries, because the programming language itself, it won't let you do any tests. It will just let you do some mathematics maybe, or some data manipulations. So for the actual control of the browser, for a user interface test, or for the backends like server test, you will need some API framework. You need to learn that separately. So all of that again is really doable, but learning programming might be a little bit tedious for some people. If you do not have any previous technical experience, it might be difficult, but this is totally doable. I guess, like, I strongly believe that most people, if not all, can learn programming if they study hard enough. And then in the very end, you will also need to practice a little bit with all of these technologies, so that you have a portfolio, so that you know how it is done in practice, and so on and so forth. So do you think we have an NIX way for that? Of course we do. So again, it is the same as for manual. So the first step, it is the same. You can just go through the standard NIX way for manual with these QA courses, and you get hired by NIX, and you become part of the team. And then the good part is that we also have the learning programs for programming and for testing frameworks, automation frameworks inside of our learning of our knowledge bases. We can teach you basically any popular programming language, whether this is JavaScript, Python, C#, Java, or whatever you want and whatever you think is in demand right now. You will be able to learn it, and the good thing is that you will be able to do this in parallel with already doing the paid job. So you will be able to do the manual job, and then you learn programming, and then you skill up, and then you will be able to switch to the QA automation role, and after that you will be able to see how the production level, like the actual commercial level testing frameworks work, and how those are used, and how real professionals use these frameworks. This is the experience that you cannot get online, and this is the hands-on experience that you will be getting inside of NIX, that you have the opportunity to get inside of NIX. So no QR code here, but we proceed with the so-called special forces. So we did talk about the manual QA engineers and the automated QA engineers, and now let's talk about security and performance and maybe database testing and maybe some other types of testing that are really specific. This is why I call them special forces. So these types, you can just trust me, guys. You should first try manual or automated testing to understand whether this is your cup of tea. Because it happens, I guess, it might happen with each profession. You want to go into some profession, you try it, it is not actually your thing, and you do not want to proceed. So security and performance and lots of interesting other types of quality assurance are really interesting, but those become interesting once you are in the profession. So you better try the more simple stuff first, and then if you like that, then you might want to proceed with something more specific. So another way, if I did sell you this course, another way to find it is just by Googling. Maybe this was just my personal output of Google, but for me it worked. So you just input NIX QA course, and you will get the link to the QA course by NIX. It will be just one, I guess it is the first non-advertisement link. So you can try that. If it doesn't work out, just navigate to our website and you will be able to find the course. And what next? What next in the meaning of, okay, so you managed to go into the profession, you are now in IT, you are now a quality assurance engineer. Let's pretend that you got the manual QA role. And now there is actually a bunch of stuff that you can do afterwards. And this stuff, it is like in my model, let's say. It is not official, it is just like my model. In my model, it is divided into hard skills and soft skills. With the hard skills being your skills in using specific software, in programming, and like all sorts of different stuff that you can learn how to use. And on the other hand, there are soft skills. And these soft skills are about communication and talking and management and all these things. So depending on what you like and depending on what fits you best, you might want to go into one of these two routes. So, for example, if you go into hard route, and so here we have like the first branch, which has multiple options, is multiple different types of testing that do require technical skill. So this might be performance testing, the already mentioned security testing, maybe testing inside of AR, VR, or Internet of Technologies, or just purely backend testing, or database testing, or lots and lots of different types of testing that you might want to do as part of your quality assurance role. And there are actually job openings for purely performance QA engineers that only do performance testing. So all of these are really fun, and these are good for you if you want to stay in the quality assurance profession after a couple of years and you have good technical skills. So these ones are for you. If you do not really like the quality assurance profession after these couple of years, you do not really need to switch your profession that much, because if you have the technical skill, you might want to switch to development, because it is really an existing career path. And if you did QA automation, for example, in JavaScript, and if you are really good at programming, switching to the role of a developer in JavaScript, it is not that complex. Like, it is not easy, it's not this easy, but it's not that complex, and not as complex as just becoming the developer from the ground up, let's say. And so this is another way. And the last one in the hard skills category, let's say, is SDET, which is software development engineer in test. And this role was introduced, if I'm not mistaken, by Microsoft, but maybe by Google, it was a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, so it was introduced a bunch of years ago. But long story short, this is something in between a quality assurance engineer and a developer. So basically, this is a person that can do development and then can do proper testing. And if some of the issues are identified by this same person, the person can also do the fix. So this is 2-in-1, and you need to have brilliant knowledge in testing, test automation, and development. So this is complex, this is not easy, and there is not too many job openings for this profession, but this is totally real, and you can do that. But I guess this might be the next step after you become, so when you are a QA automation engineer, then you become a developer, and then you want to become a software development engineer in test if you miss the testing days. And with the soft skills. So I did already talk about the business analysts, and as I mentioned, on this same YouTube channel there is a webinar similar to this one, but about business analysts, and I guess even not only one but two. This is really great material. If you are interested in the profession, you can go see it. What I can add to that from my perspective, if you as a QA really like the work with documentation and the communication part of your job, business analysis is for you. So you can easily switch to that, and the team would be happy that they have a new business analyst, because those people are really difficult to find, so you can just become one. And on the other hand, there are managers. So those people are the ones that manage the teams, but in slightly different aspects, let's say. So if you want to become a PM, which is a project or product manager, in different contexts it is not the same. So these people manage the whole development process and the whole team, and they keep track of who is doing what, they keep track of the process of development, they keep the client happy, and they work on multiple different things. But this is pure management, and if you are good at that, this is the thing that you might want to do after your QA career. And on the other hand, if you want to proceed in QA, but you want to have some management in your work, you might want to become a QA manager, which is also a thing, and in some teams there is a PM and there is a QA manager. that QA manager might be shared between multiple teams maybe, and this is the person that does the test plans, the test strategies, and decides the overall test approach for the project, and like doing these multiple fun things and not doing too much of actual testing. So this is almost pure management, but from the QA side. And to close this speech, we have the story time. So this story is going to be about the fact that all of the previous types of all of the previous professions that I mentioned and all of the previous career paths, those might also be of really different seniority. You might be a junior engineer, you might be a senior engineer. So this story happened to me actually not so long ago. I was in a project that I spent quite a bit of time on, and in this project I did implement some test automation again, and actually the team grew really well, and we had lots of people that did test automation also. And one of the things that you want to keep track of when you do test automation and any coding with lots of people, you want to keep track of the good practices. So you want to basically keep track of people not doing bad things inside of their code. So one day I open our code base and I'm doing some review, and I see a really terrible piece of code that I really do not like. I actually even hate it, and I do not understand why it is there. And I think that it is going to be a good case for the team to look at and to fix it online. So we collect a call and we collect the people, and I want to teach the new engineers, like the junior ones, about how they should not do. And in this call, when we are talking about why this shouldn't be done, and most of the engineers, for them it was not obvious, I'm talking through that, and in the code you have this opportunity to see the author of this code. And it is not seen by default, it is not displayed, but if you click a specific button you can see it. And one of them asks me like, Serhii, can we please see who did that? Maybe this person doesn't even work with us, maybe it is a person that left the team, maybe it is someone from another team even, because we didn't only have engineers on our team, there were others. And I open this and it is called blame, the feature is called blame, and it blames me because I was the engineer. The piece of code that I was talking about was written by me. It was done like in the very beginning of the project, and it actually happened a long time ago, and it showed really well how much you can improve and how much you can see the things that you didn't see like a couple of years ago. So experience matters a lot and learning matters a lot. And this case, I was like, I didn't feel bad about that, because it actually shows that even if you do these maybe stupid mistakes a couple of years ago, you might learn enough to not do these mistakes in a couple of years, which is great. So on this note, I can summarize that, and I hope this is like a really clear summary that all of you have in your heads already, but I'm going to talk through it anyways. If you want to become a quality assurance engineer, if you even consider it, you won't regret it, because it is a really fun profession, and there is like room for development, for self-development, and there is stuff to learn, and there is lots and lots of different things. So if you liked this webinar, or even if you didn't like it, follow us on social media, follow these links in the QR codes, and I guess we are ready to answer some questions. Do we have questions?
Yes, we do. But first of all, yeah, I would like to thank you, Serhii. It was like an extremely interesting presentation,
Nice.
at least personally for me. Yeah, indeed,
Nice.
it was very exciting and informative. So yeah, if you don't mind, we can start with Q&A session.
Yes, sure.
Thank you very much. And here we go. So the first question is, so it's from Laszlo. What software should I use to practice testing? Could you please?
Okay. Yeah, I can assume that this is about what exactly should you test. Like when you want to learn how to test properly, you want to practice on something. So actually, any piece of software that you find will fit that role. there are specialized pieces of software designed specifically to train people testing. Those have the bugs that are easily visible and like you can easily find them. You can document those. So this is like the so-called low-hanging fruits. You know, like you can find them really easily. There is lots of these training websites and training applications. So it might be mobile, it might be web. But on the other hand, anything that you find of software, like maybe it is a website that you like, maybe it is an application that you use, you can actually test anything, and even like I can say more, you will find bugs in anything, because it is borderline impossible to actually do the perfect testing and find all the defects. So you can, if you have enough motivation, you can test whatever and it will be fine.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for the answer. The next question is from Rafa, and he's asking if you can recommend maybe some kind of book or YouTube video in order to learn more about the quality assurance engineering.
Okay, yeah. I would like to recommend a specific book. Unfortunately, I'm from time to time I do these speeches, and this is one of the top questions, and I should have prepared by now, like I should have a set of books that I can recommend. Unfortunately, I do not read too much of like long literature. My TikTok brain unfortunately can only handle like articles. I only read articles on specific topics. So I usually have the professional urge to learn about something. I Google that, and smart people on Medium, for example, they write really good things. I usually do not watch the media content because it is difficult to it takes lots of time to consume. The article that is like a 5-minute read can be a 30-minute video. I do not want that. You want to just get the overall point of the article that you are reading. And so long story short, I prefer to read articles on specific topics. I'm pretty sure that there is like specific literature on testing and testing types and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, I have no list that actually would make sense for you, unfortunately.
Thank you anyways. The next question is from Laszlo again, and he's asking, do I need to buy any specific hardware or to do testing?
Okay, so one interesting detail, somehow I didn't mention mobile testing in the whole of this lecture, but it is definitely a thing, and this is like a type of testing that you can do with, you can do it right now because you have a smartphone. Everybody has smartphones right now, and any smartphone, whether this is an iPhone or an Android phone, can be used for mobile testing. For web testing, you can use any computer that has a browser in it, so basically anything. When you actually get the commercial position in any company, and if you need to do some specific testing for Android, for example, for a specific screen size, by no means you will need to buy this phone yourself. They usually have the so-called device farms, which are basically collections of different hardware that you can use for different cases in testing. So, long story short, I guess you do have a computer already, you do have a smartphone already. Aside from that, no, you do not need anything.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So I can try it one day.
Yes, sure.
So, the next question is regarding courses.
Mm-hmm.
So one user is asking if it starts in January. Yes, it's correct. The next session starts in January. The next question is from Simon Ondrash, and he's asking if he can apply for the course once again if he was rejected. Absolutely, you can apply it for this course once again. So it's a competition-based system. So if you haven't been enrolled for this one, you can apply for the next one. Absolutely correct. And for now, we do not have any more questions, guys. So please don't be shy. Keep on answering. Asking anything that keeps you awake at night about quality assurance. So please, guys, You can ask some more questions. So as for, so the next question is from Fanny. So what are the requirements to get accepted to this course? So all the details are available under the link which we already shared. So I really suggest you to check it out so you can find a well-detailed information there. Any more questions, guys, from you, please? It's from Rafa. So he's asking, what is the future of manual testing?
Oh, okay, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. I guess many spears were broken in this war around what is going to happen with manual testing. And it is a lot related with the AI-based tools emerging, and people are telling that, okay, so manual testing is becoming like non-existent already, and even the QA automation engineers are going to lose their jobs because of ChatGPT. None of that is happening right now, guys. It's not still happening, and like we should remember the fact, right, that when everybody was thinking that Internet Explorer as a browser was dead, at some point in time it was still used by more than 50% of people across the world. So even if something seems to be dying, it's not usually like that. So manual is still the dominant type of testing that is made because it doesn't require any specific like too in-depth technical knowledge, right? And you do not need this extra step with programming. And for some clients, it is easier to just hire a couple of manual people and just test their thing, because the software, like most of the software, is not that complex and it can be just tested manually. So the manual jobs are here to stay. On the other hand, we, specifically in NIX, we work with lots of clients that want to be on this like edge of technology. I'm using this term for a couple of times already, and this is not like the just empty words. This is something that actually is a thing. We need to know the recent technologies, we need to know the recent approaches, and if you want to have a highly paid, actually relevant job, you should better learn some tools and specifically maybe learn some programming. So, long story short, manual testing is not dead, and it won't be dead for long, but test automation is something to consider.
Thank you very much. So it's good to know that manual testing is still remain
an option. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. Yes, it's from Simon. He's asking about our quality assurance workshop, which is good because I'm going to mention information about it a bit later. So the question is if attending a quality assurance workshop helped me to get accepted for the next Q&A training course. Yes, absolutely, it can increase your chances. That's true. So, in the meantime, while are you preparing your next questions, I would like to talk a bit about our quality assurance workshop. So, it will be conducted on the 12th of October. So, we would like to welcome you all to this workshop. So, it's you can applying for this course is quite simple. So, you can first of all, we're going to share a link into the chat box, and additionally, you can also find an information on our website. So the link has been already shared. The next question is coming. So are security, performance, and other exotic types of testings worth the effort of getting into them? Oh, that's a good one.
Yes, yes, definitely. This is for the short answer. For the long answer, I might say, and I hope that people that I'm talking about won't be mad, but we have some security engineers in our in NIX And I might say that these are one of the most passionate people about their profession that I know. Because if you went into security and if you actually went through the course and you learned everything, and the course that we teach, so just for comparison, if you have some base in testing and we want to just like polish your knowledge, it would take us, for a manual role, it would take us like a month maybe. For security testing, if you already have the hands-on testing knowledge, so you are a middle QA engineer, and you have some knowledge in tools maybe, it might take for up to half a year to actually learn how to do proper security testing. So it is a real process. I guess if some of you are fans of The Witcher, this is somehow similar, you know. The ones who make it out alive are just great professionals. The ones who don't, I mean, not good for them. This is like specifically for security testing. For performance testing, this is a profession and a job a lot about statistics, mathematics, technical tools, and lots and lots of theory. Actually, this is the only book that I have read in my professional career, the professionally, like the related book. It was on performance testing, because it is really complex and it does need formulas, it does need mathematics. You do need to know what you're doing, because writing the performance testing scripts is not that difficult, but writing them in the right way and interpreting the results in the correct way is so damn interesting, but at the same time it is really complex. So all these things are worth the effort. Yes.
Thank you very much, Serhii. So as far as I see, there are no more questions coming. So I would like to thank you once again for being with us today, for providing your knowledge and expertise with us. It was very awesome. And before we say bye to you guys, I just would like to remind you, so please register for our courses, please attend our course, our workshop in order to upscale your skills. So thank you very much once again for attending our webinar. Bye.